Hello, it's ShadeX, and Solar Opposites is great. The show is about Corvo and Terry, who leave the planet Schmorp before it explodes with their two replicants and a pupa who land on planet Earth. The show is about the four trying to assimilate with Earthlings. The show is created by Rick and Morty co-creator Justin Roiland and Mike McMahan, a writer who also worked on the show. Rick and Morty is a great show, high IQ memes aside, and I was aware of this show when it was first announced. In 2015, Justin Roiland posted concept art on his Twitter of Solar Opposites, which he was pitching to Fox. However, it was unclear if it would air on the network, but now it's 2020 and Solar Opposites is on Hulu. Also, it came out around the same time the second half of Rick and Morty Season 4 started airing. I still need to get caught up with Rick and Morty Season 4, however, I really loved the season premiere where Morty got Akira-like powers after using a death crystal with the hopes of dying alongside Jessica. That was a crazy episode and I really enjoyed it. Rick and Morty is still a good show, but I know a lot of people got annoyed by the fan base, especially after the Szechuan sauce fiasco. Rick and Morty is still a show that is good though. I even enjoyed Season 3 despite its flaws. After seeing the Solar Opposites trailer, I thought the show would be more of the same. It looked like it was essentially Rick and Morty, but without Dan Harmon's involvement. I thought that because Dan wasn't involved, this show wouldn't be as good. However, I am wrong in that regard. Solar Opposites is a show that stands on its own while also serving as a companion piece of sorts to the Adult Swim show. Solar Opposites has the opposite premise of Rick and Morty, pun totally intended. Both are fish out of water stories. One is about an alcoholic grandpa and his nervous teenage grandson traveling throughout space, meeting aliens and traveling to alternate dimensions. Solar Opposites, on the other hand, is the reversal, which is a fish out of water story about aliens stranded on Earth trying to fit in with the humans. The main characters of the show are Corvo and Terry, who are on Earth along with their replicant children Yum-Yulak and Jesse, along with the pupa. The episodes have an A-plot and B-plot that focuses on the adults and kids, respectively. In the first episode, Corvo and Terry bring a children's TV character to life named Funbucket, who is a small cat-like creature. Corvo and Terry do this after they realize that he isn't real when they see a guy dressed as Funbucket at a mall. They create Funbucket and hang out with him, but he soon makes friends with two other men named Travis and Avery. This leads to them creating an inferior Funbucket that merges with the original and turns into a giant monster. This is what you'd expect from an episode of Rick and Morty. Anyway, the resolution of the A-plot is when the giant Funbucket gets shrunk, and then he gets taken back in open arms by Travis and Avery. The B plot is about Yum-Yulak and Jesse shrinking a bully named Lydia. The episode ends with Lydia returning to school, now lobotomized, after Diet Cola was dumped in her brain when she was small. The B plot is very important in this show as it becomes an ongoing plot that continues throughout the first season. Yum-Yulak and Jesse's decision at the end of the episode to shrink adults instead of kids and to give them a home inside their wall creates a very intriguing subplot that is explored in depth throughout the first season. I'll talk about that later in the video, as this subplot is my favorite part of the show so far.
Are we shrunk?
You shrunk us?
He's still got a few bugs to work out. From the makers of the smash hit Honey, I Shrunk the Kids comes a hilarious new movie, Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves.
You idiot! Don't you try!
I really want to talk about the subplot, but for now, I'll talk about what Corvo, Terry the Kid, and the pupa do in the show. Starting with Corvo, he's obviously voiced by Justin Roiland, who is putting on his Rick voice. It's very clear that Justin can only do two voices, one being the Rick voice and the other being the Morty voice. I originally expected that Justin would voice both characters, but Thomas Middledish voices Terry instead. I am glad Justin voiced one of the main characters this time around, as it would be jarring if he voiced the two leads. The name Solar Opposites comes from the personalities of the two main characters. Corvo is the smart and grumpy one, and Terry is the dumb and happy one. The first season features the main characters embarking in several alien-related hijinks. It's an episode where Corvo and Terry use nanobots to learn facts about their neighbors. However, this leads to the nanobots A-plots to gain sentience and become a male candidate who competes against Corvo and Terry to become president of the Homeowners Association. There's an episode where Corvo gets fed up with Terry and the replicants not hanging out with him on Taco Tuesday, which leads to him leaving to become a magician. There's an episode about Corvo creating a nagging wife robot so that she can hate him and Terry's man cave. There's an episode where Corvo and Terry go to college. There's also a very interesting episode where a creature called a goobler spawns from Corvo when he's stressed. This goobler is red, which is unlike the usual ones that are blue that spawn from his head. The goobler wants to kill Corvo and also pulls pranks on him and Terry, like DVRing shows for women. The Corvo and Terry A-plots are always interesting. I really like how the two characters bounce off each other well. The two are opposites, yet they still get along. What MC Scatcat says is true. Opposites do attract. The secondary characters are Yumulak and Jesse, who are the replicants of Corvo and Terry. The two are brother and sister. One thing I want to mention is that Yumulak is voiced by Sean Giambroni, who also played Jeff from Clarence and Ron in the live-action Kim Possible movie. Comedian Mary Mack, on the other hand, plays Jesse. Like Corvo and Terry, they are also opposites of each other. Yumulak is cruel as he shrinks adults at random. Meanwhile, Jesse is kind and caring. The two have interesting B-plots as well. I won't go into too much detail here, but their stories focus on their struggles at school. They're constantly being sent to the principal's office. The principal and vice principal loathe the two kids because they are aliens and disapprove of their abnormal alien activities. Also, when Yumulak and Jesse leave the office, the two proceed to have sex. That's a running joke in the series. There's a whole episode where Yumulak and Jesse attend school during summer break, thinking they are being tested, and they run into the two going at it. This leads to Yumulak and Jesse being given A's by the two principals to keep them quiet. Anyway, throughout the first season, Yumulak and Jesse get bullied, try to get popular in school, and try to get along as siblings. Also in the show, the pupa gets into shenanigans of his own. For example, in one episode he gets put up for auction alongside other cartoon animals and helps them escape. Overall, Solar Opposites is a great buddy comedy and a great family comedy as well. But the show is so much more than that. This is shown clearly in the subplot that takes place in the wall in Yumulak and Jesse's room. All the humans that Yumulak has shrunk have created a society in the wall. The society, however, is a dystopia with a tyrannical leader called Leduc living at the top and commoners living at the bottom. This subplot is Game of Thrones level shit. It's very Game of Thrones-like. The first season focuses on the everyman Tim, who is the protagonist of this side story. He finds himself in this dystopia and becomes a hero of sorts. I also really like the antagonist, the Duke, as he is a really good villain, and he's voiced with a talented Alfred Molina, who played Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2 and also played the devil in Justin's other show, Rick and Morty. This society survives with candy used as currency. The candy is given to the people of the wall by Jessie. This leads to a religion being created where she is the deity. The wall subplot is so great. If this was a show of its own, I wouldn't be mad at all. Anyway, I'll talk about episode 7, which concludes the first arc of the wall subplot. What's great about this episode is that it takes place entirely in the wall. I'll also briefly cover episode 8, the season finale, as some interesting stuff happens in that episode as well. If you don't want to be spoiled, skip to this part. Episode 7 was great. It was very entertaining. The episode is about Tim rallying the commoners to take down the Duke. The episode starts off interesting enough with a man who sells mouse milk. The man is beloved by the community as he spreads joy by selling the milk along with his cute little mouse. The relationship with him and the mouse is adorable, but I could tell right away that the mouse was going to die. I cried when that happened. Anyway, the episode ends with it being revealed that the Duke had a way outside the wall the whole time. Tim, who appeared to be the hero throughout the first season, then takes over the wall and kills Sherry, a former ally of his and lover. He does this so she won't share the secret that there's an escape from the wall. He then lies and says that Sherry died in a battle with the Duke and that she killed him. I really like this ending as it subverted my expectations. Tim seems like a hero, but the power of the wall corrupts him. He'd rather lead this wall society than let the people living in there know that there's a way out. Justin Roiland is a great writer when it comes to shocking revelations. Tim's turn to the dark side excited me just as much as the evil Morty reveal. One thing I love is how Yumulak and Jesse have no idea the Wall Society exists. They just shrug off the events that happened in the previous episode. Episode 8 is a fun one as it reveals Corvo and Terry's backstory. The episode is about them time traveling to retrieve Corvo's wallet, but a butterfly effect happens which leads to an annoying alien named Vanbo moving in with them. Anyway, the entire episode takes place in a simulation, but the pupa subplot is the most important part. Turns out the pupa can talk and has scary powers and a deep voice. He's definitely being set up as an antagonist of sorts. He can make people relive memories and manipulate them to do his bidding. I find it funny how his request was to be given a Harry Potter whistle. I'm looking forward to season 2, which was confirmed by the pupa at the end of the season finale. Okay, spoilers are over. Solar Opposites is a great show. It proved itself as a standalone show. While it is somewhat similar to Rick and Morty, it is different enough to not be a carbon copy. This show is the Futurama equivalent of Rick and Morty. It's pretty obvious as Futurama is set to autoplay after the finale. Rick and Morty is a hit show with multiple seasons like The Simpsons, and Solar Opposites is a side project of Justin Roiland and Mike McMahan's. I adore this show and I'm looking forward to more seasons. Solar Opposites has a lot of things better than Rick and Morty, mainly because the show is on streaming, which means that Justin Roiland doesn't need to shy away from serialized plots for the sake of reruns. Solar Opposites is great, go watch it. This has been ShadeX and I hope you all feel nothing but good vibes.